Hello friends, Candid Dolls is here. Today I'm gonna make a corset for my monster high doll. But first of all, I would like to say thanks to Walkie Colors and Free Your Blythe. I used their specific masking tape method to make this corset. So let's begin. First of all, I covered the upper part of doll body with masking tape. Cover it well so it sits tight on the whole shape of the body. I also cut it in some places so I could cover the body very tight. After I covered the whole upper body, I started to draw a shape of the corset directly on the tape. Then you will need to divide the corset up into pattern pieces. How many pieces you will need, it depends on the shape of the corset. I decided to make it only 5, 2 on the back, 2 on the side and 1 on the front. But if your shape of the corset go down to the hip, maybe you will need more. Because you want your pieces as flat as possible, then you transfer them to the paper and your fabric. Make sure your lines go over the high points of the body, the breast and hips. Make also sure you clearly mark your pieces. What front parts, what back part, and there is top and the bottom, because it can be very easily to mix it over. Pieces are so small after all. Here I make some notes on the side paper how many pieces I will need. 1 front piece, 2 side pieces and 2 back pieces. Then take your very sharp knife and start to carve out the pieces from your body very carefully. I cut out only 3 pieces, a front, 1 side piece and 1 back piece, as I could easily mirror them. Transfer your pieces on the usual paper. Now it's time to trace your pieces and add seam allowance to your pattern. After this, cut out your pattern and don't forget to mark them well. Now it's time to transfer your pattern to the fabric. As I was planning to make lining for the corset, I decided to speed it up a little bit. So I placed 2 different fabric on top of each other and pinned my pattern to them both at the same time. After I cut out my pieces, I decided to cover edges with liquid seam sealer. Now it's time to sew. Put two pieces with right side together and start sew. You may want to pin them together with needles, but I didn't do it. If you prefer sewing by hand, you can of course do as you wish. Continue your sewing, adjusting edges as you go. Continue to sew until you sew both parts, the right part and the lining. Iron the edges. In the next step, I put lining and the right part together, pinned them. Then I sew it up. On the back, on the top side, and left the bottom side open. Cut the fabric very close to the seams. Your corset will be much neater than you turn it over to the right side. Once more I handled edges with liquid seam sealant. Then I turned out my corset to the right side, and with my pliers gently I started to work around inside of the corset. Pressed all edges and corners inside, so corset looks nice and neat. Then I sew together bottom of the corset. Then, in the last part of my project, I decided to make 4 eyelets on each side of the back and put red ribbon through it. And so we are done. I wish you good luck in your own projects. I also hope to see you here in my YouTube channel. Subscribe and follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Bye bye!